Well, good morning, everyone. This is Deborah Cooper, advice columnist on survivingdating.com, askheartbeat.com, and examiner.com, San Francisco edition, here to share some insight with you on dating and relationships to make your relationships better, more rewarding, more fun, more of everything, except filled with drama. And now we're going to talk about some kind of drama relationships that are very, very common in the black community, and that is women dating what guys refer to as thugs. You know, I refer to them really as street dudes. You know, they're raised up in the hood. They have kind of a street mentality about life, and I think that's a more all-encompassing umbrella than to say thugs, because to me, a thug is a criminal. I mean, I'm talking about a rock slinger, somebody who's killed somebody or trying to. I mean, you know, these guys are criminals, but there's a whole group of guys who are not necessarily criminals, but they still have more of that kind of, you know, ghetto hood rat mentality about how they see life, and, you know, they want to get their hustle on. They don't necessarily look to have a job, that kind of thing. So, you know, I'd like to call them, like I said, I call them street dudes, and there is a whole culture of these kinds of young men and women too that are out in the dating pool. And what's been really interesting is to see how attractive these guys are to so many women. I mean, you would think sometimes, you know, not even women you would think that someone who was living that kind of lifestyle, who grew up in the hood, the projects or whatever, would be naturally inclined to pick a guy like that, right? Because they're very similar. They understand each other. They have the same background, the same, you know, they've gone to the same school. They have the same friends, grew up in the same neighborhood. They have the common ground that a lot of couples use as the basis to establish a relationship. Okay, I get that. But what do you have when you have a young woman who grew up in a middle-class suburban neighborhood suddenly dating this, you know, sagging pants, grill-wearing, earring-wearing, you know, leaning to the side dude that can barely utter a straight, you know, a complete sentence? And so, you know, her parents are looking at her like, have you lost your mind? And all her friends are looking at her like, have you gone crazy? But she just really, you know, wrapped up with this guy. Now, I have to admit these kind of relationships don't tend to last very long. But unfortunately, what happens with the young women by the time they, you know, get out of that phase and get over that need for that kind of excitement in their life, some of them have, you know, a kid or two or more by this guy. They may even have an STD. They've suffered some kind of violence, either domestic violence or, you know, some other kinds of violence by being in the environment where this guy and his friends are. So it becomes kind of a concern, especially if this is your daughter and that's not really the kind of environment that you've raised her to be in. So I wanted to kind of talk about this attraction, and because I think I understand it, not all of it, but I think I understand why the women do it. I just think there should be some guidelines put down for how to do it successfully. And I know that sounds crazy. It's like, how can you date a thug successfully? And I believe there are some ways that you can do this. Now, if you have a comment, you have a question, you have a story to share, I'd love to hear from you. The number to call in here at the studio is 310-928-7733. That's 310-928-7733. If you're shy and you don't want to be on the air, we understand. You can send an email. You know, we'll read your email on the air. It's innerlightradio@yahoo.com, or you can Skype in if you're a Skype user at inner_light_radio. That's our Skype username. So 3 ways you can contact us: by phone, by email, or by Skype, and we'll be happy to take your comments or questions on the air. So let's start by defining, you know, what is a thug? Okay, I kind of went into that. I think that it's a guy who, in my world, it's a guy who is a criminal. He's doing something illegal. Okay, so that makes him a criminal. He's broken the law. Like I said, there are a lot of guys that are in that environment that have not broken the law. They still have that same mentality, though. They dress like that. They look like that. You know, they treat women like that, and that's one of the problems as well. Now, there is a perception that all these street dudes have a negative impression of women, that they treat women badly, that they are users of women, that they abuse women, they want to get everything that they can from a woman, and that may be true in many instances. However, I can say this. These are guys that also respect somebody who has strength. So a woman who folds and just gives them everything, I mean, I don't really know too many men that are going to resist. If you lay down like a rug, ladies, you're going to get walked on. And it doesn't matter if the guy is an MBA or if he is a street dude that barely got a GED. That's human nature. If you act like a weak fool, you're going to get treated like one. So, I realize that may be what that happens, but, when I interact with these kinds of guys, I find that they have a great deal of respect for people that respect themselves. For people that demand respectful treatment, they'll give it to you because that's the code. That's, the way it is on the street. You conduct yourself like a respectful person, you get respect. So that's I kind of struggle with that one. And I also struggle with it because the implication is that, if you get you a college man, get you a professional black man, these things won't happen to you. That is such a lie. You think that people that have a degree don't abuse women? You think that because a man's been to college, he won't kick your butt? That's not true. And a lot of the guys that are in college, they're using drugs and everything. They might not be selling the drugs, but they're using the drugs. So, women, you can't really escape the vetting process. You've got to spend time investigating a man's character, and it doesn't matter where he's from. I mean, if street dude is not for you, I'm not trying to say that it should be. I'm just saying that not every guy who's from the hood is a bad guy, and every guy who goes to college or was raised in the suburbs or has a two-parent home is a good guy. There's responsibility on women's part to investigate the man. If there's something about him, of course, that you don't like right off the bat, it could be his looks. It could be, his smell. It could be that the eyes are red or he's drunk or, whatever. I mean, whatever is the issue that you don't like, you certainly are entitled to eliminate him immediately for that and that reason alone. But I just don't want people to get caught up in these stereotypes and thinking that every guy from the hood is bad and every guy from some other place is good. That's not true. Secondly, there are a lot of women who say things like, and I don't know if they're joking or not. They say things like, I want a gentleman in the streets and a thug in the sheets, which is, kind of the same thing like men say, how they want a lady in the public and whatever they say, behind closed doors. It's the same kind of thing, just flipped around for the opposite gender. But I think that one of the best kinds of relationships to have is with a guy who is a nice guy with some street smarts. And how does that look? What does that look like? That is somebody who is not so naive that they get gamed on. It's someone who stands up for himself. It's someone who is going to put people in check if they disrespect him, his woman, his mama, his family. Now, does that mean he's going to grab a gun and go shoot somebody? No, I did not say that. I said he's going to put them in check. That could be filing a lawsuit. That could be filing a EEOC discrimination claim. That could be sitting down and having a serious talk with somebody. It could be sending a demand letter. It could be filing some kind of case for fraud. I mean, there's many different ways that this person can be put in check. It does not have to end in violence. And most people really understand. You digging in their pockets, they understand that's the best. So it becomes kind of an issue of assessing where this man is and how he fits with you, no matter where he comes from. One problem is, you guys remember the Michael Vick thing? I'm kind of going off track, but I just want to use this as an example. Michael Vick was, making millions, living in this nice gated community, dude owned property, had cars, respect. I mean, just this big time sports figure. The problem was, though, he could not leave his hood ways behind. He just couldn't do it. So you have that thing where you have people that are in the hood, raised in the hood, and they get out and they just can't leave the ghetto behind. This has happened in his case, and he had to suffer. You know, he got involved in some shady stuff and ended up doing some time. This has also happened with several young black females that have been in the news over the past few years. These girls were going to Harvard, Columbia Law, all this kind of stuff. And they had these thug boyfriends. And I'm saying thug in this case because it was true. These guys were violent criminals, drug dealing and, you know, shooting, having guns, these girls hiding the guns, all kind of stuff. So a 4-year scholarship to Harvard ends up being 4 years behind bars instead. And, you know, she lost everything to have this man. I can't remember the girl's name right now, but I'm sure you heard of the case. It was just all in the news. It was just so scandalous. And she looked so innocent, just so sweet. I mean, just had such a promising career. But as it turned out, she was from the hood. She had gotten some kind of scholarship to go to a private school outside of, you know, her general area. But she just couldn't leave it behind. She took all that hood stuff with her when she went. Okay, so that's one problem. The second problem is that the young women don't know when to cut bait. Now, I understand that young women look for excitement. That is what they want in a boyfriend. They're not looking to get married. They're not trying to be settled down. They're not trying to change a bunch of diapers and make pablum and dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. That's not where their head is. And I can't say that I blame them. But what the young women are losing track of somewhere, they're losing focus. It's fine to date these kind of guys. If that's what you want to do, you're a grown woman. You're over the age of 18. You're essentially, in this country, you're an adult. You are entitled to make whatever decision you want to make. I am merely saying there has to be some kind of understanding that there have to be rules and boundaries when you interact with guys that you know are not going to be good for you long term. They're fun and they're exciting for right now, but that's where you should leave them in the present. You don't bring them into the future with you. You do not fall in love with them. That is rule number one. You can date them. You can spend time with them, party with them, you know, hit the bed with them, whatever you want to do. But you have to figure out a way to keep your emotions in check. You do not put your emotions in the hands of someone that you already know. And I don't care whether it's a thug dude or somebody from the college campus. Somebody that you know does not have the kind of mentality to be a committed relationship with you. You know, use your brain. Look at this situation for what it is. A lot of these guys have 4 or 5 women. You know, is that the man you really want to be in love with? I mean, you might want to kick it with him or whatever, but that's not no one you should invest emotional stock in. You just shouldn't do that. You're setting yourself up to be disappointed and to have your heart broken. That makes no sense. Okay, that's one thing. Don't fall in love. Number 2, don't have any children. What is all this baby having stuff you guys are doing here? You have a future, young lady. You need to make sure that it happens for you. Like I said, you're over 18. You can date who you want to date. Your parents probably not going to like it, but, you know, if they see that it's just some temporary little thing that you're doing, they probably won't trip too much. But you have to handle yourself. You want to say, well, I'm grown. I make my own decisions. I decide what I want to do with my life. Okay, that's fine. But you need to do that like you have some sense then. Don't say all that and then turn around and make some decisions like a 12-year-old. So you don't have children by a man that you're not married to. If he's just a man who's not trying to be in a committed long-term relationship with you, there should be no discussion about having children. Why did you want to do that to the kids? You know, they deserve to have 2 parents. They deserve to have 2 people that are going to be involved with them and there to not, you know, you worried about the dude getting killed in a drive-by. That makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely no sense at all. It's okay. It looks like we got a caller. You have a question, caller, area code 718. Caller from area code 718. Oh, I guess we lost them. Okay, no problem. Let's caller, if you want to, you can call back. And for those who didn't hear the number, the phone number to call is 310-928-7733. That's 310-928-7733. If you're a Skype user, feel free to use your Skype. Our Skype username here is inner_light_radio, and we can patch you in through the Skype as well. All right? So let's see. So I'm talking about the baby having thing. That was just like, oh, that's a disaster. I don't understand what's going on there. Also, you make sure that you keep some boundaries up. Okay, if you're going to date these kinds of guys and spend time with them, go into it slowly. I can say, well, no, let me just deal with this first, then I'll go there. Go into it slowly, because what you want to find out is where this guy's head is. Now, there are a lot of very successful men that grew up in inner city urban areas. They were raised in the projects. They have friends that are in jail. They might have done a little stretch themselves in their youth. But at some point, they realized that was not the path they wanted to go down. They got their butts in school. Even if they didn't go to school, they took some classes, read some books. They may have started a business. I know two guys that started, they have some very successful janitorial services. And these guys are they're street training of how to talk to people, how to be engaging, how to schmooze and be charming. The same tactics that they use to get women and get themselves out of, tight situations, they now use it to represent their businesses. They're constantly hiring people because they have, they're getting so many contracts. These guys are master salesmen and wonderful businessmen. Did they go to college to get an MBA? Absolutely not. But they have an innate sense of fairness and how to treat people with respect and how to make money. They have the idea of, okay, I'm going to do this, and this is, I'm going to get paid for it. That came from the hood, so it depends on where this guy's head is. And that's when I need to emphasize that. There's two kinds of street dudes. Well, probably more like three. Three types of street dudes, okay? There's the violent, gangbanger, ridiculous, crazy ones, okay? You don't want nothing to do with them. You want to stay as far away from them as possible because nobody's trying to come and see you in your plot, okay? Your parents and your friends want you here. So those guys are a little too dangerous. You need to leave those alone, okay? And then there's the sub-level. These are the guys that are around guys like that. But as soon as some jive stuff's getting ready to go out, they be like, man, I'm out. And they leave the scene. They're not trying to be there. They're not trying to go to jail. Like I said, they may have gotten caught up once or twice, but that's not their lifestyle. You see what I mean? Those are just their friends that they grew up with from childhood. They still hang around them sometimes. But these are guys who are looking to the future. When you're with them, they have some conversation about, baby, I read this book here. I have a vision. I want to do this. Yeah, I see myself getting married. I want to be a better parent to my kids than my father was to me. I'm not going to use drugs like my mama did. Whatever is their story, you can see what not only are they talking about what they're going to do different, they're actually putting these things in motion. Okay, that's somebody you can, give a second look to. Because I'm not saying every man that you meet is perfect. And certainly if every black woman is going to, try to get the same type of guy, this college-educated, Harrington, Barrington the third type of dude, that there won't be just like 12 of them, okay? It's just like millions of y'all. So there's going to be a lot of women that probably don't even want that kind of guy. But, why place yourself in a position where you're all competing for the same type of guy? You can have a man who is a great guy, as long as he's willing to put aside those kinds of behaviors and that attitude, but you're not going to know that unless you have some conversations. Talking on the phone is a great way to do that. Going on dates, a wonderful way to do that. Out in public, not at your house, not at his. And, get to know this man as a person. You may ultimately decide that he's not your cup of tea. That's fine, but you at least learned about this man. And, I think a lot of guys will appreciate that, a woman giving them the opportunity to tell his story, okay? Now, the third type of street dude, I don't know. I see a lot of women with these kind of dudes, and I'm like, why? These guys don't have a job, ain't never had a job, ain't trying to get a job. They want to sit on your couch all day and watch TV or play video games while you go to work. And a lot of women support these kind of men. I don't understand it, what that's all about. Because ain't nobody that good in bed. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. Keith, we have Mr. Keith on the line.
Hey, Deborah, I had to just chime in. I just want to ask you a question. I hear this all the time, and I have a couple of daughters, and I see that what they bring home. I call those kind of guys strays, but that's neither here nor there. Well, strays are the people that you're not serious about, that you can't necessarily bring home, but they're due for the time being until you find somebody that's a little bit more serious or something that's a little better. But anyway, do girls or young women go through what I call the bad boy stage, where they really like bad boys?
And yes, and I'm gonna tell you the main number ones who do that are the young ladies. You see, that shows that you as a father, you raised your daughters right. So they are curious, because this is the kind of guy, and I went through this myself. That's why I know firsthand about it. My father stayed on my butt. I couldn't go nowhere unless one of my brothers went with me. So I was like the ultimate good girl. But as soon as I got in a position where I could start dating and choosing my own guys, one of the first guys I got was every single thing that my father said not to date. He had a record. He used to do drugs. He didn't go to college. I wonder, I don't even know if dude graduated from high school. But anyway, I kicked it with him for a few weeks, got that out of my system. And, but it was something I felt like I needed to do, not just hearing it from my father. I needed to see for myself. Now, I didn't get pregnant. I wasn't trying to be like in any situation like that with dudes.
Right.
But it was something that I wanted to see. And he was very nice to me. Don't get me wrong. He was very nice and everything. But it just, we just were on such different social levels that after the partying part was over, there really wasn't anything. We didn't have anything in common. His mom was nice. I mean, he took me to meet his mom. He was just so proud. It was all great. But it is a phase that girls go through. It's a curiosity thing. You got to realize, too, that this kind of lifestyle that these guys lead is promoted in the media. It's the hyper-masculine, black guy that's cut and ripped and pants and sagging, talking all that. He walks with a swagger, all this stuff. So, I have to admit, those kind of guys, when you're a young woman, those kind of guys are fun and they're sexy and they're cute, and that's what you like. That don't mean you're going to marry it. So just keep talking your talk, remind us that, what you going to do with, your stray puppy.
There's some, and another question is that I know that women pick guys according to what they feel inside. Like some, like a young guy will hang out with a dude or hang out with a crew that's doing something slightly illegal because it seems exciting. Do women do the same thing for, say they got the guy with the record, or he's slinging drugs, or, he might be even doing a little, carjacking or whatever, because, that criminal element is, they have stories, and there's a certain amount of excitement to being on that side of the law. Do women go with guys to get that kind of aura, that kind of feel?
Yeah, and, you got to realize, too, Keith, guys, they get resentful and they say, well, women only like bad boys, they don't like nice guys.
Right.
It's not so much that. It's like if you look at really the lifestyle that the, quote, nice guys lead, they're kind of boring. They're stable and they're nice, but they're boring. A lot of them don't really do anything that would be engaging to a female's mind. And women like action. Women want to see movement. Women love conversation and words and emotions and things. And a lot of these nice guys just don't exhibit. So they're not attractive to women. And these other dudes have like the gift of gab. They always got some crazy story to tell. They're witty. They're fun. They just are so used to being around a whole bunch of different women. They don't really put too much stock in it. They just talk a bunch of smack. Well, that's fun. And that's very mentally stimulating to young women's minds. And so I think it's the same thing, just like you said, with the young boys, hang out with this element of friends, it's something different than what they would have at home, just reading their book and playing video games.
So is there a point when like women transition out of that stage, or some, I guess some don't, but is there a point where they figure, okay, I've had enough of that, I've experienced that, it's time to settle down and find a boring guy, or do they ever find a boring guy?
Yeah, no, they get because what usually happens is the boring guys mature a little bit more, become more confident, and then they start to understand. You know, you're going to interact with women, you have to give them something. And a lot of these guys are very, you know, because I interact with them a lot. A lot of them are they're shy, but then a lot of them have some real strange ideas about women. You know, very judgmental, very condemning. They're a turnoff. So not all. So everybody don't call me saying, I'm not like that. That not me. You know, of course it's not everyone, but I'm saying in general, this is what I've been seeing a lot. They're raised to be nice guys, and they're very judgmental about women.
Okay. All right.
So hold on, Big Papa. They'll be all right.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Who's our next caller here? I'm trying to get my screen. We got area code 954. Caller 954. What's your question or comment?
Well, I was just calling. Someone sent me a message on Facebook to call in, and I was listening to your answer to the brother. I wasn't sure. I just jumped in, so I wasn't exactly sure what you were discussing, but I guess you could say I have a comment about this topic.
Okay.
You know, I guess you could say it's a comment and a question in a sense. What I would like to ask is, like, which women are we talking about? And, you know, are we a part of these women? And if we are not, then why are we talking about these women, you know? Are we one of those sisters who want to date thugs or in street dudes, or do we want more mature men?
I think everybody, you know, what I was talking about was the fact that a lot of young women go through this phase. That doesn't mean that they stay in it. And, you know, all women, though, look for a man who is mentally engaging. Now, some women might find that in a man who is able to discuss philosophy, play chess, or, you know, who travels with them or something like that. But if that's not your kind of lifestyle and you're, you know, a young woman kind of raised in the hood, in the projects, well, you're going to go around with guys who are on your social level. And all young women want a boyfriend that they think is cute and who is exciting to them. They want a guy who is physically attractive, who they find to be sexually attractive, and who is fun. And so, you know, how that plays out, though, in a young woman's life and what choices that she makes to fulfill those needs, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to give them a few little tips of guidance.
Who's asking this question, though? Why do some women date thugs and street dudes? Is this coming from the perspective of a man or a woman? Like, who's asking?
Well, it's usually men complaining that women don't want them. They want street dudes. They want thugs. That's the term I hear a lot.
Now, I can answer that question for that person. Why is it that you're interested in that type of woman?
Well, that is a good question.
Okay.
Well, I think a lot of it is because, you know, they grow up watching the videos just like the other dudes. And the little corny dudes watch the videos. They want them a 10 woman, too, even though he may only be a 4 on the scale himself. He wants a girl who shakes and has got big booty and looks cute like the video girls. And he sees that those very attractive women are going for the guys that have more pop. You know, they may be more streety, more, you know, cool, the cool dudes, the bad boys. And so they're resentful because these guys are getting all the women and they're not getting any. So it's just sex jealousy, sexual jealousy. So they label these guys.
They should be able to answer their own questions then. If they're interested in those type of women, then they know what type of women those are, so they know what type of men that those women are interested in.
Well, that would mean being honest about the fact that they're jealous. They don't want to do that. They would rather.
No, not even about being jealous, but, you know, the level of maturity those particular women are at, or, you know, whether or not that they want to date someone on a serious level and have children, you know, what type of, you know, you are not that type of men that women like that are looking for, then why is it that you
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for calling.
Back to sleep.
Say, let's get the next caller, area code 704. 704. Your mic's open. What's your question or comment?
Oh, well, this is a great conversation. And I was just thinking that the nerdy light guys cannot compete with the thugs and street dudes because, in a sense, if they did try to imitate these guys, then they would not be true to themselves. So they should not change their personality because of that woman that goes out for the thugs and street dudes. What they could do is befriend the women that they like and build a relationship with them, and then let time takes its course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I'm really saying, you should get to know the person before you go to bed with them.
Oh, yeah.
Because those thugs and street dudes, a lot of times they abuse the women. And so we just have to take our cues and things of that nature to be the winner of those ladies. And if they're worthy of our attention anyway, because you can't change them once they are, have been through those trials and tribulations with a thug and a street dude. Mm-hmm. Until something awful happens. And then they may come out, the street dudes and thugs may be the Prince Charming that you think they are, but in reality, they can become very cruel. And then that's where the ladies mess up. If a man jokingly hit you, then that should be a number one sign of him being violent. If he's cruel to animals, that's another point. Then he is a violent type person, and you don't want that person in your life. Exactly. But this is a good topic.
Well, thank you for calling.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. She brought up some interesting points, and I want to kind of reiterate something that she mentioned. Now, when people talk about abuse, one of the top things that they want to discuss is physical abuse. Everybody knows what that looks like. You can see it. You can see a black eye. You can see, rings around someone's neck and bruises on their cheeks and all that. You can see all that. What you don't see is the damage that is done to a woman inside. To me, emotional abuse is the number one type of abuse that men do. And you know who's the best at it? Them alleged good dudes, the ones that everybody thinks is so wonderful and perfect. Those clowns are vicious, and they destroy a woman from the inside. So, I don't want people to leave this show with any stereotypes in their mind that everyone who dresses like this, talks like this, and does this is bad, and everyone who goes to college and wears a suit and goes to church is good. From where I sit, they all have drama. Each has drama. Each of it can hurt you. You have to decide how to pick which man is going to be the right man for you. I don't give any of them a pass. None of them. I don't care how many degrees he got, how many churches he's been raised up in, or how many parents he has. I don't care. They're all knuckleheads until proven not to be. In my world, you're guilty until proven innocent. Now, let me tell you how this goes down. The guys who, they want to pretend like they're so great, right? So here's this woman, she's jumping through all these hoops to try to give it this dude. Oh, he's everything I wanted. He's professional. He's educated. He's all the stuff. Okay, so she's going through all these changes to try to give it this dude. And then the drama begins. The little snarky comments. Oh, you're not going to wear that, are you? And so now you're starting to doubt yourself, right? You come in, you're all happy about something. Maybe you got a promotion on your job, and instead of him being happy about it, you get this. Oh, so what, you going to make 52 cents an hour more? You see what I mean? Little put downs like that. Now, I'm just giving some really, kind of really odd examples, but imagine hearing things like that day after day, day after day. Little things, little put downs, little criticisms, little judgments about you that are negative. How are you going to start questioning yourself and doubting yourself? That's the kind of abuse that I see the most. I believe that it is part of black culture. It is so deeply ingrained in men's mentality about how they talk to women that you will see most of this coming from brothers towards sisters. As a matter of course, they don't even question it. They don't even know what's going on. And when I bring this to women's attention, they are shocked because they go reflect. Many women have reflected on their relationships and realize with a shock that every single relationship that they've been in has been emotionally abusive. Okay? So that's what, actually, I probably should talk about that on my next show. That will be in 2 weeks. I'm going to do that. We're going to talk about emotional abuse in 2 weeks. But this is the kind of thing that I want women to be aware of. There's different kinds of abuse, and no man should get a pass just because of his background. And if you don't want to date a thug dude, that's fine. I'm not, advocating for them in any way. I'm just saying that a lot of guys that we know now that are professional, successful businessmen and community leaders, when they were young, they were thugs. They just, were smart enough to leave it behind before they got, caught a bullet or a case. And so there you go. We got a caller, 704.
Oh, I guess I'm still on.
Oh, okay.
And the guys as well have to be aware of the women that they want and decide to hook up with, because we do have women that abuse men. So it's a two-way street.
Well, that is true, and we do also have girls. There's some thuggish young women out here too. More and more girls are becoming violent, and they're roaming in gangs and robbing folks and beating up people. Wow, what the heck is going on with these people? And they had that TV show Snapped, where these women are, man cheats and they want to stalk and kill dudes. So some of these chicks not wrapped too tight. So I wouldn't really mess with them if I were a guy. But thank you.
So it pays to know the person that you're dealing with. If necessary, you need to ask other people if they know that person, and what have you heard about that person. Is it all good or negative? Mm-hmm. And then you can decide from there.
That's right.
Because if you've been bad, somebody knows your history.
Well, I appreciate your comments. You made some really great points. So thank you for calling.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye. All right, let's get our next caller here. Panky.
How you doing?
Just fine.
I was listening to the conversation, and the problem. See, all this is a ramification of not having a family in the black society. Actually, this is the society's fault, because a lot of things have occurred throughout at least the last 30 years. Everything from welfare, abortion in particular, and the fact that you don't have, if you're a female, let me ask you a question. How would you know that you have a good husband?
Well, every woman's standards for that are going to be different. I know what works for me, but what works for me is not what is the standard for most women. For instance, I refuse to be with any man who is religious in any way, shape, or form. You come at me talking some religious crap, you are out of here. So see, but a lot of women, that's what they want. They want a, quote, God-fearing man. I don't. So right off the bat, we have a difference of philosophy on what makes a good husband, and I go left and they go right.
Most women would say those things too. But hardly anymore do you hear a woman say his standards would be base compared to my daddy. I would have seen my father and his interaction with my mother throughout my life, and that would be at least a minimum basis. And another point too, when we don't utilize the old systems for picking a woman for marriage or picking a male for marriage, that is, her brothers go out and check out the family, and his brothers and sisters go out and check out the family, so that they would have a predisposition before it goes any further, then everything that we're doing is just a flip of a coin. So, not to be preaching to any particular philosophy, but what we're seeing going on now is nothing more than an extension of just the destruction of the black society, black family, black values and ideas. And it's going to continue to be this way until at some point in time, a portion of our society, I don't think it would be all, a good strong portion of our society recapture things in order to set an example for the rest to, join on and use as a model.
Okay, well, those are valid points. I had a great relationship with my dad, and it definitely helped, formulate my opinions about what a man should be and how I should be treated by him. But, we have a situation where a lot of young women are growing up without that influence. So who are they supposed to learn it from?
My daughter came to me with 3 men that she had chose to be involved with. And the first 2, after several months, I told no. And the third one, I said, yes, you can marry him. So you don't see that no more. And then you have some people that say, well, that's just putting too much restriction. Well, you're going to either have restrictions the way they were supposed to be applied, or later on you're going to have some sort of restriction, whether you're going to be in a cast or a bodysuit, a body cast, or in prison. So, anyway.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Keep up the conversation.
Will do. Bye-bye. So let's see, where was I that I wanted to talk about the back to the topic about women dating the thug people. People I think like to think when they see these guys that, they're tough and rough, they call them roughnecks and, these thug dudes, and they think they don't have feelings. That's not true. And you have a person who, in many instances, they're going to play games, but do you know a man who doesn't? Women try to say, well, they played a lot of games, they'll have a lot of women. Some of the biggest hoes in the world are dudes in college. And you know why? Because there's so many women there and so few brothers in the environment. So they just have, ridiculous numbers of women. So I can't say that it's only thugs that do that. It's only thugs that cheat. That would be an unfair statement. So, I keep having to come back to this, lady. You've got to do your own vetting. You got to really be clear on what it is you are looking for right now, because that's going to change. What you look for as a 18 or 19-year-old college student is going to be vastly different than what you look for when you're 30 years old and you're ready to get married and have a family. It's going to be completely different. So you've got to think about this kind of stuff and make some smart choices. So let's see. We got a caller, 619. Your mic's open. What's your question or comment? Hello? Your mic's open. Oh, I guess we lost that person. All right. No problem. So, like I was saying, I've seen some, these kinds of dudes break down and cry, when they propose marriage to a woman. They're just so happy they found something that they have they hold in such high regard. And it's not like they just get married any day of the week. They're probably one of the few people in their group that's taking that step. It means a lot to them. I think more so than it might to, your average Harrington Barrington III do. But to have a wife and have someone who loves you and have a family, But you have to look at the guy. I keep saying that. Look at the guy. Make sure that this guy is the right has the right mentality and is on the same page of life as you. If he thinks having a whole bunch of women laying around on his butt all day, not really working, just hustling up a few dollars here and there for some smokes is his idea of survival while he lives off of you, well, I would have to ask you what is wrong with you. I see a lot of women, I was saying that before some of the phone calls started, that live this particular lifestyle. They take care of these guys. I guess they got it like that, so, I mean, if that's what they want to do, I mean, they're grown. I'm not going to tell them not to. But I'm really wondering what the benefit is. You know, what are they getting out of a situation like that? How can you respect a man who you treat like a child? To me, that would make, like, you know, anything that happened in the bedroom would be kind of incestuous or something. I would not feel real, ugh. That'd be kind of like, ugh. Just like, you know, in one respect, you're like his mother, you know, taking care of him and everything like he's a child. But then when the lights go out, then suddenly you're supposed to be two adults doing, you know, the horizontal mamba. That just seems freaky and weird to me, and something about that just not really clicking with me. But, you know, that's just me. So if you want to get in here on the phone, we got some time. You can call. The number is, what is the number? Where did I write it down? God, I'm so disorganized. When will I get my act together? Well, anyway, you can email. It's innerlightradio@yahoo.com. That's one way to get in touch with us. The other one is to call 310-928-7733. That's 310-928-7733. And, or you can Skype us. It's inner_light_radio. And get your comments on the air. Hey, area code 334. What's your question or comment? Your mic's open.
Yes, this is Dennis Latham. How you doing?
Hey, Dennis, what's going on?
I'm all right. Yeah, what I like to interject here is that I deal with a lot of these things every day, 7 days a week, all day and all night. And the thing is, the way things are this day and age, society today is based on what you look like. And so a lot of people tend to like a certain look, and that's what they go after. And most of the time, on most occasions, it's what they look like, what turns them on, because they're raised up and trained that way through either parenting not being where it should be, or the school is raising them, or television is raising them. So they go by what a person looks like, and that's all they seek. And then when they go too far with falling in love with the way they look, later on they find out that their mentality is screwed to hell and back, and so on and so on. And spiritually, they're probably screwed up too, or whatever. But I'm just saying, with the way society is, it's all about how you look. That's why you have so many people trying to dress themselves up to look a certain way, when most of them are not actually what they look like. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, and see, and in dealing with this, and I also deal with a lot of rape victims, a lot of victims of pedophilia. The thing is, too many people are looking the other way. And see, when you raise up children to, and I posted this yesterday on Facebook, and the thing is, women, what I do, I blame all of these problems we have, and I blame it on the males, because the male is supposed to be the authoritative figure with all of the authority and power. The male is supposed to protect all children and women, even if they ain't your own children and women. But see, when you don't protect your children and women, even the ones that are not yours, that's when they fall astray to those males that are corrupt, and they will, just murder them. They'll murder their mentality. They'll murder them physically. They'll murder them spiritually. And then this leaves a girl messed up, not trusting males and all this type of stuff. And it's just it's all based on not protecting. So that's why I'm always, for a record, I'm always on the side of the woman, regardless. Because I know out there are very, very few real men out there. Most of them, and as I said on your blog, also on your post on Facebook, that the majority of males are childish, immature males. But you all women and us males too, we call them men, but they're not men. And I'm a firm believer in calling it what it is. But I do have to say this: I love what you said. Guilty until proven innocent. You see what I'm saying? I love that, because that's the way people should be. And I always say, read the whole book first. don't just fall in love with the cover. Read the whole book. Because if you read the whole book, you might find out what you getting into. If you read the whole book and love it, then go ahead. But if you read the whole book and don't let the cover fool you, and so on and so on. So that I just wanted to put that in there.
Well, thank you, sir. And congratulations on not congratulations. What's the word? I can't even think right now. But you just said so many wonderful things. But I appreciate brothers like you trying to educate the younger guys about what their proper role is for being a man, and it is for protection and to uplift your community. That's if you're not going to do it, who is?
Right. And I just want to say this. I'm and I don't care who don't like it, but it's the truth. Okay. If a male is not, first of all, I'm saying this down through the word love. A lot of people don't understand what that means. Love does not attack you. Love does not abuse you. Love does not beat you. Love does not cheat on you. Love does not harm you, hurt you, or kill you, or rape you. Love doesn't do that. And I see a lot of these younger women falling for that type of stuff, and I just hate to see it. But anyway, with all that said, I love you. I love all the people out there, and ain't nothing you can do about it. I'll holler at you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye. Well, this whole thing about the thug guys is kind of interesting because we, as women, I think, you want to feel, especially if you grew up without a father, you do want to feel that you have somebody in your world that's going to protect you from harm. Now, guys, the little corny dudes, I call them the little nerdy dudes, get upset because they're like, that's like saying that, I can't protect my woman, Well, there's something about you that's not ringing that bell in her. I don't know, maybe you need to hit the gym and, muscle up, grow a beard so you look more masculine. I don't know. I can't give an answer that's going to fit every single male who has that problem in the world. I'm just going to throw out a few ideas. But usually it has something to do with how you present yourself. Like maybe your self-esteem is not as high as it should be. You're doubting yourself. Your confidence is kind of shaky when it comes to dealing with women. That's a common one. Or you're not really that, attractive. You don't really believe in your attractiveness to women. Well, go down to Macy's. They have those dress people that'll help dress you at Nordstrom and, Bloomingdale's and stuff, and get you some clothes. Do something with yourself. Get your hair done a different way. Get your wig tightened up and, modernize your look. Figure out what you need to do to look more attractive to women and then do it. That's it. It's as simple as that. You don't have to sit there with your lips stuck out, ragging on the dudes that are getting the women that you want. Do something to up your score on the dating scale, and then you will get those women. But if you're sitting there looking all like the Pillsbury Doughboy and stuff, acne covered and wearing some clothes you had since the 8th grade, well, you're probably not going to get a woman, and that's pretty much it. So like the caller said, a lot of dating is attraction. It's based on what you look like. Sorry, but that's it. That is the first thing that everyone sees, what you look like. If you make it past that screening, then they get to talk to you. If they like what you say, then you go to the next level, the next level, the next level. So you got to make the initial cut, though. And if you're looking all toe up and raggedy, then, you're going to only have to be stuck with toe up and raggedy folks that are like you. And that's just the way that it is. So if you're a little corny dude and you want to get, one of these hot babes, you got to get yourself together to be attractive to them. So that means usually, you got to do something with your body. You got to be ripped, do some P90X or something and cut yourself up, lose some of that covering of fat, stop eating donuts and, KFC and all the stuff and, eat some food that makes some sense. Treat your body like it's the temple that it is. And look at how you interact with women over the course of the next few weeks. I'm only on every other week, but you can, we'll be dealing with some of these issues. And those of you who are parents, if you have sons, I don't know how you record these things, but maybe make notes for them and give them some ideas for how they can modify their look and become more attractive to women. Because I'm sure you're tired of them being lonely. There's a lot of single young women out there that are looking for nice guys to date. They want to meet you, but you've got to present yourself in a way that's going to catch their eye. Just like in the animal kingdom, the animals with the male lions are the ones with the manes. The male peacocks are the ones with the feathers, the bright colors. So you've got to present yourself in a way that's going to be eye-catching and make you stand out to the opposite sex. And that, unfortunately, the thug types of dudes tend to do that with the way that they dress, the way that they walk, the ease with which they interact with women, the way that they're so witty and funny. They always have something, to make a woman laugh. They have something to say to her. So they're very engaging. They're charming. And so it's the kind of thing that, you guys just need to do a little better with your social skills. And I'm going to help you do that over the next few weeks. But like I said, we're going to start next time I'm here. We're going to talk about emotional abuse. I think that is the number one type of abuse that occurs in relationships and even in our social interactions. It happens a lot with the snarky comments that a lot of men think are okay to make to women because of the messages that males get in black culture, that males are superior, that women are supposed to be submissive, that men are more important than women. So, I'm going to blow that mess all out the water. But I think, there's a lot of things for us to talk about, a lot of very educational subject matter to cover and address. My goal is going to be to make, like I said, relationships better, to create better vehicles of communication between men and women. And I will do everything I can to facilitate that. If you have any questions until you see me again, feel free to visit me on my website. It's survivingdating.com. There is, I have the ability there to interact with you in real time. It's a little thing that says Meebo, M-E-E-B-O, chat. And you can, if I'm online, it'll show you that I'm online, and you can, interact with me right there on the website. Or you can feel free to send me a message either through here, it's innerlightradio@yahoo.com, or on my website. Either one, I'll get the message and I can respond to your questions or comments. So as we close out on this show, women are definitely attracted to what I call the bad boys, the thugs, the player types of dudes. Women are attracted to those kind. I'm not going to lie, because they are fun, because they are exciting. Because if you had a choice between like a Steve Urkel dude and, his other character he used to have, Stefan, which one would you choose? I mean, come on now, really? That's like a no-brainer. So if you want to be, get the woman, you got to be the Stefan dude. And you don't put so much stock on saying, well, I'm a nice guy. Because what does that mean? Women don't know what that means. And like I said, a lot of guys hide under the cloak of saying, well, I'm a nice guy, when they're really not. So don't get angry that a woman doesn't believe you and wants you to prove it. Because like I said, you're going to be too soon to be guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And more women, I think, need to do that. It's just a protective vehicle because of the fact that women are victimized in so many ways. Women are smaller than men. They have less strength than men. And it's very easy for women to become a victim if they're not watching out for themselves and are overly trusting. So, don't take it personally, guys. It's nothing against you, because, if it was your sister, your daughter, your mother, your niece, you would want her to take those precautions herself. So don't take it personally, and don't think anybody's talking about you, because I don't know you. I don't know anybody who's listening to this show except the one who's the tech person. It's the only one on here that I know. So that's one thing. And the last thing is to understand that as far as being tolerant and open, I think the more street types of dudes are like that. They tend to be much less judgmental about women. And a lot of young women find that as they go through the sexual exploration phase of their 20s, that to be a lot more freeing, because they've left the judgmental environment of their youth, and they're coming into their own as women, and they're trying to find out about that side of themselves. What do I like? What turns me on? What kind of man do I like? I mean, it's a total exploration phase. And these kinds of guys, I think, are so attractive to so many young women because of their openness, their tolerance, their attitude, like whatever you want to do, anything goes. They don't, they're not sitting there in judgment of women based on their sexuality or really any much of anything. So it's a very freeing type of relationship for most young women, and I think that as a woman matures, it's kind of a rite of passage. It's something that we all went through. Even if the guy wasn't a super thug, he was still someone that was less desirable than our parents might have picked for us. So he's still on the other side of the line. You see what I mean? He's just for how far over the line is the question, but he's still on the other side of the line, and he is a walk on the wild side for that girl, for whatever level of wildness she can tolerate. And it's just something that I think happens. That's part of the role that's part of the growing up process for women. And when young women get about 28, 29 years old at the latest, those behaviors tend to have been put behind them, and they move on to know what kind of man they really need, what kind of man they really want, and then they go and they look for him. And then the relationship's fine. It works out because she knows who she is as a woman. She gets with a man who knows who he is as a man, and it should all work out. And I think, there's a place in our lives for the thugs. There definitely is. But like I said, the key two things, you don't fall in love. You keep boundaries up as far as where you bring them in your life. You don't mix apples and oranges. You don't start thinking he's going to go to church with you and all this old stuff. Not going to happen. So realize what you got. Keep him in his position in your life, and then that's fine. And then the number 3 thing, don't have a baby. No children. No babies. Okay? So you do those 3 things, and you should be all right. So, anyway, so you guys, thanks for sitting in with me. I've had a great hour with you today. And in 2 weeks, we'll be back at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll be talking about emotional abuse, giving you some information on that and how you can watch out for a guy who has the potential to be an emotional abuser and what you can do about it to counter the emotional and mental trauma that you may experience from that kind of relationship, because they can be really, really, really harmful. All right? Let me get Mr. Jamal here. See what he's doing here.